Hi, welcome to Intuitive Dawn. I'm your host, psychic medium Jamie Lynn. And today I wanted to pull a card from a deck by Tosha Silver, and I've got the deck here. I'm going to shuffle and see what comes up. And then we're going to do an intuition exercise because this is called Intuitive Dawn. And I'm so glad you're here today. Let's see what the universe wants you to know today. Okay, the first card I pulled is humility. So it says, allow me, divine, to always accept the right assistance. I welcome your help in every way, and I'm delighted in receiving it. So this week, don't be afraid to ask for help, or even today when you're seeing this. If you need something, ask the universe. They are listening to you. And I'm going to pull another card here. See what else comes up. Letting go. This card's about letting go. It says everything is indeed out of control, and God or source, whoever you guys believe in, will hold it all, and you can safely let go. So let go of things that no longer serve you, people that no longer serve you, or situations that no longer serve you. And I'm going to pull one last card. Universe, angels, guides of the highest love and compassion. What do you want the viewers to hear right now? What message do you have for them? Oh, gratitude. Fill me with gratitude for all you give. May I be a vehicle for you whenever I go or wherever I go. So have gratitude this week. Beautiful card. Be thankful for things. Even, if you see a flower or a butterfly, just say, gosh, I'm thankful for you. So be thankful. And I wanted to go through an intuition exercise, and it's about clairsentience. And that's actually my strongest is clairsentience, because I'm really in tune to people. So I have this book, Soul Exercises for the Open Mind. It's a psychic development workbook by John Capello. And so I'm going to talk about clairsentient today, clairsentient. And so it's like psychic feeling. And it's interesting because I am a water sign. So water signs can be kind of emotional. And so I'm going to read this. So as this starts out, the author is like kind of talking about, is quoting someone, and she said, I just felt something was going to happen. So she decided not to drive to the store that day. Have you ever had that where you were going to do something and spirit said, just don't do it, or don't go there, or don't call that person, or don't go down that street, or because they're trying to give you a message. It was a good thing since there was a major accident that occurred at just the time she was scheduled to go. Some call it luck, others call it coincidence, but she knew it was more than that. This lady understood her feelings and she acted on them. When we think of energy, we usually think of electricity or another form of power that turns something on to make something move. However, when it comes to your psychic abilities, it is not just a type of energy that activates them. Your soul or psychic senses receive information from people, places, animals, objects, and sounds. When energy is accepted by your personal space, it can be immediately interpreted, and your response is usually emotional. This immediate interpretation can be defined as psychic feeling. This is called clairsentience, like I talked about. And in this exercise, we're going to take a look at clairsentience. And it is considered the first psychic sense because most people use it more than any other. Our easily accessible emotions are part of our humanness, and it makes us unique. So here is kind of an exercise we're going to go into about clairsentient. So clairsentient is the soul's ability to consciously or unconsciously capture a feeling or emotional information beyond the limitations of your physical nervous system. So feelings are often captured on an on an involuntary basis and known on a subconscious level. And we are able to understand and study our emotions through our experiences, right? And we notice our psychic feelings and emotions in common situations, such as first impressions. Have you ever met somebody and you're like, I don't really like them, and you don't know why? You can't put your finger on it. You might have a hunch and even gut feelings, and they can come to us suddenly without warning. Okay. So, and listen to them, because even with myself, I've met people and I've told somebody I don't like that person, and then they'll say, well, why? That person's really nice. And then they'll try to twist my arm and say, well, just give them a chance. And so I do, and then they end up doing something really mean to the person I told to watch out for that person. So I usually go with my first instinct, and you should too. Always go with your first hunch. So here is a soul exercise for you. Recall emotional responses you had during happy, sad, and neutral occasions to assist you with developing your clairsentience. So you could get out a piece of paper if you want to, or you could do this in your head. But here are some examples of a happy occasion: a birthday party, the birth of a child, a graduation, a wedding, a New Year's Eve party. And here are some examples of a sad occasion: the loss of a game by a favorite team. I don't know if I like that example, but this author's using it. A funeral, the loss of a job. I see a loss of a person. That should be number one. A divorce, and reading about a violent crime or seeing violent activities or misfortunes on the news. So here's your exercise. So, a first impression is an emotional response and an energy imprint you receive when you first meet a person or learn about a situation. The emotional imprint you receive is beyond the physical and is usually correct. A common situation where you might form a first impression is when you meet maybe a new person, and your psychic emotions may be in conflict with your expectations. So you may defer to those you care about because you want them to be happy. So let's say you meet your son or daughter's significant other. They just met somebody that they're dating, and you really don't want to express a negative opinion because you don't want to hurt their feelings. So first impressions can work in the positive as well as the negative. So sometimes seeing a person or experiencing a situation may appear to be negative with your physical senses. We get a feeling about some things, and maybe recall one of your first impressions that you had about a person that you dismissed, but later learned was correct. And I used my example. I have a good friend, and I met their coworker at a party about 6 or 8 years ago. And I said, I do not like that person. I don't trust that person. I don't know what it is. I just have a very bad feeling about that person. I couldn't understand why. And lo and behold, 5 years later, that person did a lot of mean things to my friend. So always listen to your intuition. And so what is one time that you had a first impression of someone that you dismissed and later was correct? You can put it in the comments, or you can write it in your journal, or even keep it in your head and think about that. Okay. And so psychic feelings can also be used when solving problems. This form of the sense is called a hunch, right? So, for example, when investigating a problematic situation where evidence is not clear, a psychic feeling may be the leap that is needed to connect the dots or make sense of data. A third form of psychic feeling. So, what could we use for this? So, an example of this could be maybe you go look at an apartment with one of your friends, and you say, ugh, I don't have a good feeling about this place. And your friend says, well, why not? This is a brand new apartment complex. I don't understand why you're so upset. And then maybe before it was an apartment complex, it was something else, and there was a tragedy there, and maybe you have a bad feeling about it, or maybe there's weird things that go on around there. So really listen to your intuition. So a third form of psychic feeling is commonly referred to as the gut feeling. I'm sure you've all had that. And this type of emotion is a premonition of a future event, right? Okay, you just have kind of a gut feeling about things. And so let's see. So psychic feelings can be acquired when you walk into a room. Have you ever done that? Have you ever walked in a room and you're like, I don't really like that person over there. I have a weird feeling about that person. People can also sense energy in an empty room from previous conversations or actions. For example, an act of violence leaves an impression that can be sensed by your emotions. And by the same token, you can sense energy from people in a room as soon as you walk into it. Have you ever had that where you walked into a room and I've had that where it felt very uncomfortable and it almost felt to me like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like I'm wanted here. And then you get kind of embarrassed, like, oh my gosh, I just walked in here and now where do I go? You could always make an excuse. Oh, I forgot something and then just leave. But have you ever had that experience? If so, write it in the comments. And so the information can be detailed in either case, really. So, however, most often you may ignore this energy because it is contrary to our logic and reasoning, right? And you could dismiss these sudden, unexplained feelings. This conflict occurs when our physical senses are telling us one thing and our emotions are telling us something different. And it's almost like going to a fun house where things aren't really as they appear. So really listen to those unexplained feelings because sometimes they're not taken seriously because there's no logic associated with them. Impressions may not make sense until a situation unfolds. So just like my friend's coworker, I didn't understand why I felt that way about this person. And then a lot of situations unfolded about 5 years later where there were some really terrible things that this person did. It wasn't very nice at all. So I was right about this person. And the friend of mine even said, you were right about her. I should have listened. But sometimes maybe they need to experience a life lesson with this person. Who knows? And maybe it makes them stronger. So at that point, sometimes you may find yourself questioning, why didn't I accept my initial feelings? So really validate your initial feelings. If you feel something, if you go into a job interview and you're like, I don't have a good feeling about this place. I just don't feel like I should get the job here. Listen to the intuition. And initial acceptance can save you time, effort, and aggravations since psychic feelings just arrive without trying or having to provoke them. So let's see, sudden feelings are usually associated with imminent danger or immediate action. So having a feeling before a storm or impending accident are two examples of sudden feelings. They are, and I had this when my cousin passed away. He stood next to me at a function and he was talking about high school graduation. And this was about maybe a few months before I graduated. And something inside me said, he's not graduating and he's going to pass away. And he was only 18 years old. So, how do you explain something like that? I was afraid to tell him. And I think I told my dad or somebody in the family, and he ended up dying in a car accident 6 weeks later. So listen to your intuition. I don't feel that I could have saved him. I feel like that, I hate to say it, that was his destiny, unfortunately. I hate to say that, but I mean, sometimes like we can't control the outcome of things. And so, which is unfortunate. Um, so when you have sudden feelings, the personal space around you is activated, and in some cases, your entire body can be affected with a feeling. And recognizing it can be difficult without some practice. And when you are not practiced, you may not recognize the importance of the feeling, and then maybe it's too late to explain it. So I was pretty connected to my feelings, but it was still made me feel uncomfortable having that feeling about my cousin. It felt very sad and upsetting to me. So here's an exercise. Name a typical emotional experience you could not explain, but made sense of later. So what was that for you? I mean, it could be, I'll give you an example for me. My friend's brother died of an illness like 20 years ago. And I walked in the room and I'm like, oh my gosh. And this was at her mother's house. I didn't know her brother had died at her mother's house because he lived in another place. Okay. So I went into this one room and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. And she's like, oh my gosh. She goes, well, this is where my brother died and he couldn't breathe before he died. He was in here, he was dying in the hospital bed. And it's just like, so pay attention to things like that. I mean, I didn't understand why all of a sudden I walk into that particular room. Every room in the other house I could breathe in, but that room in particular, I felt like I couldn't breathe. So, if you had an emotional response to something and then you couldn't explain it at first, like I couldn't explain why I felt that, and then it was explained to me by my friend why I was having that reaction. So think of that. And clairsentience is a psychic ability, and it's part of your soul's energy, and it stretches you to increase perspectives of life. Pay attention to your emotions. Meditation is a great tool to help focus on your emotions. It gives you clues about the way we receive emotional data outside of our safe environment. Okay. So meditation is a method used to practice pushing out your personal space and expanding your field of sensitivity. And pushing out your personal space is like having a net energy attempting to capture other energy. So here's an exercise. Imagine sitting in an eggshell of white light, and it is close to the skin. This white light around the body is the energy of the soul. In the case of clairsentience, it is the area of the body called the solar plexus. We have the ability to enlarge this field around us like a net, noticing the solar plexus area, and it can receive energy emitted by another person. At first, this net may appear very porous, but with practice, the net can be tightened. Practice allows you to sense and interpret information quickly and accurately. We have a natural ability to capture information, but it can be enhanced by exercising the soul in this matter. Once you are confident about the energy you are sensing, you can judge a situation through your feelings. And then learning to trust and discern is the most difficult part of learning clairsentience. So here's an exercise for you. Think of a time where you felt something, if you felt an energy of a person, or you had a gut feeling about something and it was about, it was a psychic feeling, so write in your journal or the comments what that experience was like. Even going forward, listen to your intuition and validate the feelings you have because they probably are right. And try to harness your clairsentience and your clairsentient ability. We are all psychic, right? Some people are more psychic than others. I believe that. But if you're looking to enhance the clairsentient ability, you could do those exercises and just pay attention to your emotions. And it's good to keep a journal so you can write things like this down. Like, what was I feeling today? If I was at work and I was giving a presentation, what did I feel when I was giving the presentation? Did I feel like everybody was receptive to me, or did I feel like they didn't like me, or did I feel like they didn't like the idea, or what impressions did you get? Because your impressions are valid, and I think it's important every day to write down your feelings or feelings about feelings about people and situations. So look into that and harness that. And I really appreciate you being here today. You can find me on my website, psychicjamie.com, or at the Electric Spirit Podcast on all major podcasting platforms. So I'm so glad you were here today, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.